Hello, my love, and welcome back to Being That Woman. On today's episode, a really rich conversation that I can hard relate to, and that is the downfall of being the hyper independent woman. Yes, Miss Independent. And the reason I really want to bring this home today is because for the last, I would say, probably like 12 to 18 months, I have been doing a lot of work to surrender and to let go and to let others help me, and also to really bring a different energy of myself in dating, because I realized that I had a pattern that when I was going on dates, I would be talking a lot about my achievements. I would be talking a lot about my business. I would be talking about a lot about what I do versus who I be. And I started realizing that I was also attracting a similar type of guy, a guy that was also very successful in his achievement era. And though that's not a bad thing, what it also meant was that we didn't really get to know each other on a deep level. So after 1, 2, 3 dates, it kind of got a little bit boring. And I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was and why it was that I kept attracting the same type of man. And I was having somewhat boring, vanilla, average dates. And obviously being in the work, what did I do? I really turned it round. I was like, well, what am I bringing? What am I offering? And I realized, well, I'm offering a lot of my intellect. I'm offering a lot of my knowledge and a lot of wisdom, and not much else. Here's the thing. If you are a single woman and you want a man, but you're dating or just moving through the world from that masculine energy, then there's going to be a certain type of guy that you attract. And it's more than likely going to be a guy that's in his feminine, that is going to really just mirror what you're doing and is going to follow you versus actually lead. Because if you're showing up in the conversation and you're leading the conversation and you're asking the questions, and the questions and what you're leading is from your masculine, then he's just basically going to tender to you and not really show up in the way in which you really get to see him, that you get to hear him, that you get to really feel who he is outside of these masks that we wear in society, which are all about how great we are at things and what we do and what we have, versus really like who we be and who our personality is and what our essence is. And, you know, just really opening our hearts and sharing more of the vulnerable stuff, which I know can be so scary, not just for women, but also for men as well. But if you're a woman that identifies with really focusing on your career, you almost have that narrative or that saying, and maybe you've even caught yourself saying this to your girlfriends of, I don't need a man. I'm good on my own. Like, life is good. I'm successful. I'm focusing on my career. And again, not a bad thing, but this is the part where you get really honest with yourself. Is it true? Is it true that you don't want a man? Is it true that you don't need a man? I'm saying this from one girlfriend to another because I know that I played it for so long of like, oh, I'm focusing on my career. I'm doing all of the things. I think I've shared in previous podcast episodes that, you know, I'd set myself up to really not win and pretty much lose because I had this school of thought and this belief system that I had to be successful and have a certain level of success before I could start dating again. And when I realized that, it really shook me because I was like, oh, well, I'm putting my happiness in something outside of me. Like I have to achieve something outside of me, which then comes back to that really, you know, core wound of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I need to do better. I need to prove to him. I need to be seen to be X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, successful, perfect, you know, whole, happy, complete before I meet him. Because essentially it's saying that we have to be a certain way in order to attract. Now, yes, we do have to obviously be fully embodied in ourselves to a certain extent to attract a certain type of guy. But it really isn't true that we have to be happy, perfect, whole, complete, have all of our shit together before we meet someone. And really We just have to be happy enough with who we are and what we have and where we're going in our life. But if you, like me, can also identify as not only being this hyper independent woman, but also a high achiever, and you want to excel in all areas of your life, then it can really distort how you show up in relationship with men, in relating with men on dates, whatever, however you want to picture and paint it. But the thing is, if you truly, truly know that you do actually want a man, and there is a part of you that really needs a man as well, because there are honestly aspects that a man brings to the table that we'll never be able to bring for ourselves. There is a certain energy that a man who is truly deeply devoted to you and is in, relationship with you in a way in which makes you feel great and safe and loved and cherished. There is an energy that he brings that we won't ever really truly be able to have from our girlfriends or from our career, or even honestly from the relationship with ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be with a man to be happy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a certain type of texture and experience in life when we're in relationship. What I want to get into today specifically is how dating from that energy of Miss Independent is actually going to be hindering you. And as I said, with my own example, you might find that you attract a certain type of guy, and that's not going to serve and support you, because you might think that then there is something that you're doing wrong, or there's something about you that's wrong, reason why you're in these patterns. And really, it's just the subtleties. It's these small nuances of how we show up and what we say yes to and what we say no to, and how we really have a relationship with ourselves, which of course I share a lot on this podcast, is literally the most important thing, is how you are with yourself and how radically honest you are, which, is the point that I got to. I had to get really honest with the fact that I was playing this hyper independent woman on dates. And I was bringing my dick and putting it on the table and being like, look at all of these great achievements that I've got. Honestly, there's a certain type of man that will love that. And he will be like, yes, yes, yes. And I've dated a few of these men as well. And let me tell you now, it is exhausting. It's exhausting because the more value that you give in what you do and how you show up and all of the great things that you can support him in, well, you basically do what I did, and you play the role of mum. Mum's going to do everything for you. Mum's going to help you out with your business. Mum's going to help you out, basically, your schoolwork. No man really, honestly, wants to marry his mum. He might want to date her for a while. He might want to even be in relationship with her for a little while because it's comfortable, but it's not sexy. And also it isn't going to do the thing that most women want, and that is the longevity, the lifelong partner. I really saw myself doing this in one particular relationship. It was a short relationship, probably around about 4 months, but we went in really fast and we really connected, and there was a lot of chemistry. And then there was also a lot of familiarity, values, systems, all of that was in great connection. It was very, very aligned. The one thing that was missing was communication from the intimacy and the vulnerability. So we didn't really get a chance to really see each other in a really deep level because we were too busy talking about business, and we were too busy talking about goals, and we were too busy having these, really deep conversations. Yeah, cool, about the universe, but not actually about each other. And I realized this is starting to feel really distorted. And I was like, why am I not happy in this setup? And I had to get really, really, really honest. And I was like, I feel like I'm playing his mum. It's literally how I feel, is I'm kind of tendering to what he wants, what he needs, checking in. I was helping him out in his business as well. And it started to just get really unattractive. And when I called it out, he then retracted. He literally avoided, because I was basically asking for more intimacy and more depth and more connection in who he is, and a level of commitment that comes with that. And he, like a scared little boy, ran off. I can easily say like, oh, it's him and his avoidance, and like it's him and his lack of, commitment. It's him and his unwillingness to really be in touch with himself. And I knew that none of those things were true. Why? Because I could very well see that he had a level of depth to him. However, I wasn't a woman that was bringing my heart to the relationship. I wasn't a woman that was really even honestly having big, courageous conversations back then. It took a really, really long time for me to start really seeing how I was showing up. And it's the most uncomfortable thing. I totally get it, because we've been so well conditioned as women to just look at everyone else and see everything outside of us and what's going on with him and what's happening and is he okay, and just really analyze how he shows up and how he behaves towards me. But we've never really been honestly taught to just really go inward and ask ourselves the big questions like, what is it that I want? What is it that I need? How can I powerfully ask for this? It wasn't happening in that relationship. Why? Because I had never had anything modeled to me or practiced for me to show up in that way and really be honest and really be truthful and share the edgy stuff and just really speak into like, I would really love for you to ask me questions. I was going on date after date after date, and I was the one leading. I was the one asking questions. So tell me where you come from. Tell me, what do you do? And tell me what you like. Tell me what your favorite food is. I even used to have this game, which is insane, that this was my date tactic or strategy, should I say, to be like the icebreaker, because I didn't want the discomfort of the date, right? And I would have this game that I would play with guys, and it would be choose one or the other. And you've got to choose it. You have to choose one. You can't choose either or say both. So for example, I'd say beaches or the pool, and they'd have to choose beach or the pool. And then I'd say salt or pepper. You have to choose salt or pepper. And then I'd say, getting married on a beach or having a huge party and then getting married in Vegas. Like, I'd ask these questions that to me at the time I was like, oh, I'm really getting to know this guy. And then I realized way later when I got into the nervous system and somatic work that I teach today, I realized, oh, I was just really uncomfortable. And so forth, I then would ask questions and I would lead. And it's also a distraction mechanism of, oh, you don't ask questions about me. I'm going to ask you all the questions. And it would be really then easy for me if they didn't ask questions to be resentful, to be like, he's not into me. I'm not going to bother with him. See me asking all of the questions. So it's this real unconscious game that I was playing because I was uncomfortable with receiving and letting a man lead, because I never trusted men, because I came from a household where there was domestic violence. My dad left at 12, and we had a very turbulent, real kind of like Jekyll and Hyde type relationship, both me and him, for pretty much all of my teens and all of my 20s. And it was really only in my 30s that I started to rebuild the relationship with my dad. And it's really honestly only in the last, I would say, 18 months that there has been a real depth and softening to our relationship. That meant that when I was going on dates and I was in relationships, there was a man in front of me, and my previous experience of a man, which was my dad, was not safe. So I learned really quickly to play the strong one and to play the role of the mum, the strong mum, which is what my mum was in my upbringing. Through the years of then being the hyper independent career go-getter and high achiever, I learned that I didn't need a man for money. I didn't need a man for sorting out the bills and calling up the utility companies and buying a house and dealing with solicitors. And, I didn't need a man for any of that. And you don't need a man for any of that. But the point is, you get to want to need a man to do that, because men do want to be useful. Men do want to provide. Men do want to be needed. And that's the distortion in the masculine and feminine, traditional men and women archetypes that are playing out right now, is that women have become more independent and men then don't feel like they have the use in the world, or to be needed, or to be the traditional provider. And it really emasculates men. I've spoken to many men, because I do some work with men in the States at the Bridge Experience, where we do co-ed nervous system reset work. The conversations that I hear and the conversations that I have with men is that she doesn't appreciate me, she doesn't see me, she doesn't want me to help. When I do help, I don't get the reward feedback. And it's because we're so shut off to receiving from a man that we can't even then really appreciate a man and say, hey, thank you for picking me up from the airport. Thank you for opening the door for me, right? It's these real little subtle ways. And then men have forgotten where their role is and how they can show up in the relationship. I don't want to put anything down here where a woman then's like, oh, so I can't concentrate on my career and I can't be focused on my career. And it's not that. You can have the best career. And I know so many women now, and quite a big chunk of my clients are the breadwinners in relationships. But there are other things that men can provide that we're not really allowing or even opening ourselves up to receive from them, like emotional support, like the small things like opening a door or going to the grocery store for us, or looking after us if we're unwell. Instead, women are so well groomed and trained to be strong and have to carry it all. And we can, because we have the energy to carry it all. We are the traditional gatherers, right? From the hunters and the gatherers. And we have that mechanism in us because of our maternal mama bear instincts, where we can multitask. We can do a lot. We can hold a lot. But the point is that women now are holding more than we actually really need to or have to, because we're so well pushed away from this ability to even ask for help. I know it because there's so many times in the group programs that I lead that women don't even know what to ask by way of support. Like, ask a question for support, which is something that we support women in Reclaim Her to be able to actually master for herself. It's like, okay, what do I need? Let me just attune to what's going on right now. Okay, so I'm having a challenge in my relationship. And the thing is that we're having this argument, and the argument is because he's late every night. And when he's late, I get left to do all the dishes and everything. And it makes me feel like I'm being used, that I'm the one that's doing everything. And the resentment builds up because she can't say, okay, I need support with being able to ask my husband to help me out with the housework. And she hasn't mastered that in a way in which he receives it from her that isn't defense, or isn't an argument, or isn't him being told that he's doing something wrong, which brings up all of his inner childhood little boy wounding of not doing enough, not good enough, being told off by mum, all of that. But she hasn't even been able to master even asking someone else to support her in it. We're very well practiced at going to our girlfriends, having a glass of wine and moaning about how he doesn't help with the dishes and he doesn't do anything around the house and he comes home late all the time, etc., etc., etc. We are really well practiced at being the complainers. But underneath every complaint is actually an unmet need or a really deep desire. And we don't, as women, allow ourselves to touch that because we've been seen to be too needy, and that being and asking for support is weak, or that we, aren't strong and we can't do something. We've got to do it for ourselves. And there's almost like even like a badge of honor that so many women walk around with, like, oh, I bought my own house and didn't need Prince Charming, and, making my own money and carrying my own shopping bags. And those things are cool. Yes, to buying a house for yourself. Yes, to having your own money in the bank and being like awesome in your career. But also there's an energy behind it where it's defensive, where it's like, look at me, I don't need him because what? Because if you needed him, then what? What would that say about you if you actually said, hey, I actually just need I need a man, I want a man, and not from because I'm lacking, and not from because, I'm not good enough without a man, like the worth and the value aspect behind it, but actually just because I need a man, and I get to need a man, and I get to want a man, and I get to have a man, and I get to have a good man, and I get to have a man that wants to do things for me. It's a completely different energy behind it. If you are listening to this and you're like, yes, she is talking about me, she is literally a fly on my wall, and you know that you are in this hyper independent season, or maybe you've been in it for years, because of course a season can last a little bit longer when we're in these patterns, and you know that you are constantly thinking about work and it's a huge distraction, so that you don't have to go into the dating pool, or you don't have to fully show up intimately in your relationship, because it's like I'm focusing on bringing my part of the bread to the table. Well, firstly, before I go into some how-to surrenders, I just really want to say that this hyper independence, right? Not independence. You get to be independent, but the hyper independence is actually code. And really what's happening in your nervous system is you're in survival. Because essentially what you're doing is you're putting all of your time, all of your energy into this system of living life by way of your career, by the way you do things, by the way you show up on dates like me, and you only give one aspect of yourself. When you do that, you're essentially signaling to your body that it's not safe for you to be any other way. And you build a life around that way. And it's really then easy that when you're in that life, for that life eventually to feel like a prison. Because you're hyper boundaried. Your boundaries are so fixed on how you do things and how you show up that it doesn't give space for something to come into your life in a way in which you don't have to do all of those things. And it can be scary to not do these things because you've built so many habits and patterns around them, and you've built safety in it. But you have to, if you want to start experiencing dating and a relationship in a new way, you have to, like I have been doing for the last 18 months, you have to start surrendering and slowing down and just letting go of the control. Again, I know it's easy to say, and as you can tell, like I've been in it 18 months and I'm still on my journey. But the first thing that I would advise and give my clients, which is what I'm going to give to you, is to start asking for help. And I'm specifically using the word help because sometimes help can come with a real tinge to it of weakness, but ask for help. Like, please, could you help me? This weekend, I'm going to the doctor's and I'm going to have a minor treatment, and I can drive home, but I would just really love you if you could help me and drive me home. And you can say that to a girlfriend. My suggestion would be ask a male friend or your dad or a family member, whatever, right? So that you can actually start receiving from the masculine. So that's number one. Get yourself into spaces where you can be with women who are holding this energy, who are ready to surrender and let go. The women who want to start playing differently in life, in love, in dating, all of the things, and they don't want to hold as much, and they don't want to just talk about achievements and how much money they made and like their next, goal in their career or their next bucket list thing to tick off. Like, start playing in spaces where women just want to have real, honest, beautiful conversations. And in those spaces, you can also work on the control. You can work on the control in a way in which you're supported by other women to not have to do it all, not have to figure it all out, not to plan it all, organize it all, do all the to-do list, everything. And if you are dating or in a relationship, let him lead. Just let him make the plans. Ask him to start making the plans. So you put that ask in there. Tell him what you want and tell him more of what you need, subtly and gently and softly without demand. And just be like, I would really love it if you would arrange a date on Saturday night. I would love for you to take me out. Let him do it. And then, really big point, don't pick apart or look at the ways in which he didn't fully show up to that thing and that it could have been done better. Say thank you, appreciate it, and just really receive him doing that for you. It's such a huge thing. And letting him lead, not just in those ways, but in other ways, is probably going to bring up some discomfort because you're going to want to fill in the thing to do or the plan or the organizing or the conversation or the question. Be in the discomfort because your body needs to move out of that survival energy and it's going to be uncomfortable and find a new baseline, a new way of being in your body. And you've got to feel the discomfort and your body's got to learn that it's safe to let the man take the lead. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I absolutely loved it. And if you did, please leave a 5-star review and also tag me on Instagram. I am at Anna Christina.